the first thing, like if somebody was to learn about Islam, the very first thing would be about God and the oneness of God, because that's where it all starts, you see. So like, because everything that we do now, it's to worship God, and we believe that there will be a day of judgment, and then from then there will be like paradise or hellfire. So everything sort of links back to God.
Right.
And what we believe as Muslims is that your afterlife depends on what you believe about God, what He is not. So, like you mentioned, like in Christianity, some people believe He is a part of God; they worship Him as God. But in Islam, we believe that God is one. He is a creator. Everything that is made is the creation, including people like me, you, and the world, everything. So that includes the prophets as well, because you see, the prophets as well, they also born and they also die, whereas God doesn't. So God maintains the universe, whereas we don't. And like Jesus, for example, He was kind of like me and you, like we can see to there, we can hear to there. Same with Jesus. Whereas God, His vision encompasses the whole universe, His hearing and His knowledge as well. How Christians have like the church, Jewish people have the synagogue. In Islam, we do have what we call mosques. So it is a place that we go to and do the prayer. And on a Friday, there is like a special prayer. So this is where a lot of people gather together and listen to a sermon, and then they pray a short prayer. So there is what we have like a place of worship where we listen to sermons, we get some knowledge, and also we pray in congregation. But that prayer, even though we are doing it together, it's actually not following, we're not praying to like the leader who's at the front of the mosque. We actually all are praying to God alone. You know, in the Qur'an, there's like a very small verse at the end, a chapter at the end. It's got like 4 verses. And in Arabic it says, Qul huwallahu ahad, Allahu samad, lam yalid wa lam yulad, wa lam yakul lahu kufuwan ahad. Roughly translated, what that means is, say He is Allah the One, Allah the Self-Sufficient, nothing, He is not born, and nothing is born from Him, and there's nothing like unto Him. So it's kind of like summarizing God, saying that He is one, there is no partners with Him, no other being. He is not part of a trinity. He's not 1, 2, and 3. He's just one. Yeah, He is self-sufficient. So, like me and you, the trees, the animals, we need our food, we need our water, and etc., etc. God doesn't need anything because He's made everything. Obviously, in Christianity, a lot of them believe that God has a son. Some parts of Judaism also believe that God has a son. So making those sons kind of godlike, but in Islam we don't believe that. So God doesn't have a son. So, you know, in Islam, in Christianity, they believe Jesus was born to the Virgin Mary. In Islam, we actually believe the same, but we believe that God just allowed that to happen because He can do anything, but that doesn't mean that Jesus is God. In Islam, we have like details of like God's names, His attributes, but we don't sort of have like a physical representation of those things. And because when you do that, you are sort of making that like something which is similar to creation, whereas it's different. For example, humans like love, God also loves, but it's different. You can't compare them. We are told God has a face, God has a hand, but it's not like our face and our hand. It's just like totally different. We can't visualize it, we can't comprehend it. He is the most gracious, most merciful, most generous, most forgiving. And I think there might be a book here which, you know, that little blue square one, it has all the attributes. You can take that as well. What it is with the Quran, it's like we have like an interpretation for it. And this is sort of taking from how the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, and how his companions as well at the same time, how they understood and implemented the Quran. So sometimes when you read something straight off, you might be, whoa.
Yeah.
But for things like that, you do need to look a bit more into the interpretation.